The homeless boy who won a marathon with bare feet. He was laughed at, mocked, and ignored. A homeless boy with no shoes, no home, and no support. Every day he ran barefoot, his feet bleeding, but his spirit unbroken. When he entered a city marathon, no one believed he stood a chance. Yet what happened at the finish line stunned the world. This is the powerful, true-to-life story of resilience, dignity, and a boy who proved that talent and heart shine brighter than hardship. Watch to the end for an unforgettable lesson in strength and hope. Homeless runner, barefoot runner story, inspirational story, motivational story. Boy wins marathon. Against all odds. Never give up marathon winner. Inspiring life story. Resilience. Scholarship story. Powerful story. True hero. Silent strength. Running motivation. Inspirational journey. Heart over hardship. Emotional story. Perseverance story. Hope and resilience. Inspiring boy. Life-changing story. He ran barefoot through the dust, the sharp stones biting into his feet. The crowd of boys at the edge of the schoolyard howled with laughter, their voices cutting deeper than the gravel beneath him. "Look at him. He doesn't even have shoes," one of them jeered. Another cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted, "Hey, runner boy, maybe you can borrow my grandma's slippers." Their laughter followed him like a cruel shadow. He did not stop. He did not even glance back. His chest burned, his legs trembled, but his eyes stayed locked on the distant horizon. For him, running was not a game. It was not a sport. It was survival. His name was Samuel, though most at school never bothered to say it. To them, he was just the homeless runner, a boy with ragged clothes, no shoes, and no place to go when the school bell rang. Each afternoon, when other children rushed home to waiting meals and warm beds, Samuel would run. To escape the whispers, the hunger, the ache of being unwanted. The dirt road was his home. The open sky was his ceiling. The wind, carrying the scent of cooking fires from distant houses, reminded him of what he did not have. Yet the same wind also pushed him forward, whispering promises of freedom if he kept moving. Every day he ran barefoot, through fields, over stones, across muddy paths. His feet were hardened and scarred, but his spirit was sharper still. He knew the world laughed at him, but deep inside he carried a secret no one else could see. Years earlier, Samuel's life had been different. He remembered flashes of warmth, a mother's soft hands, a father's quiet smile, the glow of a kerosene lamp on nights when they would tell him stories. But life had shifted with ruthless speed. A sudden illness stole his mother. His father, broken by grief, drifted away into silence and never returned. At 10 years old, Samuel was left with nothing but the clothes on his back and the streets beneath his feet. Hunger became his constant companion. Some nights, the sharp ache in his stomach felt like a knife twisting deeper. Other nights, he lulled himself to sleep under a bridge, listening to the steady hum of crickets, pretending they were the lullabies his mother once sang. But there was one thing that made the pain bearable: running. When Samuel ran, the ache dulled, the shame faded, the cold and hunger blurred into something distant. Running was the one place where he felt equal, even free. At school, Samuel was tolerated but never embraced. Teachers pitied him but offered little help. Classmates mocked him, their laughter cutting with each step he took. During sports class, when others wore polished sneakers, Samuel stood barefoot at the starting line. His feet, scarred and blackened, became the source of ridicule. Yet, when the whistle blew, Samuel would surge forward like lightning. His stride was long, his pace relentless. Again and again, he would leave his classmates far behind, their brand-new shoes useless against his raw determination. Still, instead of respect, he was met with more laughter. "You're fast, But you'll always be barefoot, they said. The injustice hung heavy in the air. No matter how much he proved himself, the world refused to see beyond his poverty. Samuel never shouted back. He never argued. His silence became his shield. Instead of words, he answered with footsteps. Day after day, when the sun dipped low and the streets emptied, Samuel would run. Past the jeering voices, past the pain, past the hunger gnawing at his stomach. There was one old pair of running shoes in a store window he often passed. He would stop and stare, his reflection warped against the glass. The shoes were worn by mannequins that looked nothing like him. Perfect, polished, untouchable. He longed for them, but he knew they were as unreachable as the stars. Still, his feet carried him forward, unshod but unbroken. And though no one noticed, a small group did watch in silence. A retired coach, standing at the edge of the field. A janitor, sweeping near the playground. They saw not just a barefoot boy, but a flame burning too fiercely to be ignored. The city's annual marathon was approaching. Posters hung on every wall, banners stretched across streets. It was the kind of event that drew thousands. Athletes, families, strangers lining the roads to cheer. The winner was promised not only a medal, but something far greater, a scholarship. Samuel read the poster silently one day, tracing the bold letters with his finger. A scholarship, a chance to study, a chance to belong. He knew he had no shoes, no coach, no support. He also knew he had no choice but to try. When he told the others he would enter, the laughter was louder than ever. "Barefoot boy thinks he's going to win a marathon," someone shouted. "Maybe he'll run so fast just to get away from us." The ridicule was relentless, but Samuel stayed silent. The day of the marathon arrived. Runners in sleek outfits stretched at the starting line, their shoes gleaming in the morning sun. Samuel stood among them, his bare feet pressed against the cold asphalt. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some laughed, others frowned in disbelief. A boy, without shoes, among athletes who had trained for years. It was absurd. It was impossible. Yet Samuel's eyes burned with quiet fire. He whispered to himself, "They can laugh, but my feet know this road better than any shoes." The race began. Instantly, the runners surged forward, their strides powerful and rhythmic. Samuel fell behind at first, his small frame lost among the crowd. Spectators shook their heads, already dismissing him. But Samuel did not panic. He knew the rhythm of the road, the pull of the earth beneath his feet. One by one, he began to pass runners. His breath came steady, his pace unyielding. The laughter that had once chased him now faded behind him. By the halfway point, the crowd had fallen silent. The barefoot boy was not only keeping up, he was leading. His feet bled against the rough asphalt, but he pushed through. Each drop of blood marked not weakness, but defiance. Spectators who once mocked now gasped in awe. Whispers spread. "Who is he? How is he doing this?" And still Samuel said nothing. His silence roared louder than any cheer. As the finish line drew near, Samuel's body screamed for rest. His vision blurred, his legs trembled, but in that moment, he remembered every night of hunger, every laugh that mocked him, every cold morning when he had run alone. This was not just a race, this was justice. With one final burst, Samuel crossed the finish line first. The stadium erupted. The boy who had nothing, who ran without shoes, had beaten them all. The announcer's voice shook with emotion as he declared the winner, "Samuel, the barefoot runner." The crowd, once cruel, now stood in thunderous applause. Teachers who had turned away, classmates who had mocked him, strangers who had doubted him, all rose to their feet. But Samuel did not lift his arms in pride. He simply stood there, silent, his chest heaving, his feet bleeding. His silence was the loudest victory of all. With his victory came not just a medal, but the scholarship that changed everything. Samuel was no longer just the homeless runner. He was a student, an athlete, a young man with a future. Yet he never forgot the dust roads, the hunger, or the laughter that had once tried to break him. The city remembered him too. Each year, when the marathon came, Children pointed to the starting line and whispered, "That's where the barefoot boy stood." Samuel's story became more than a race. It became a lesson. That talent, when fueled by resilience, can outshine even the deepest hardship. That dignity, when kept in silence, can roar louder than cruelty. And as his story spread, people carried away one final truth. Sometimes the strongest victories come not from what we have, but from what we endure. Stories like Samuel's remind us of the power hidden in silent strength, of battles fought not with anger, but with perseverance. If this story moved you, share where you're watching from in the comments. Tell us what you think of Samuel's journey. And if you want more stories of silent heroes, subscribe and join us in honoring the resilience that too often goes unseen. Because sometimes, the most powerful runners are the ones who never stop, no matter how many times the world tells them they can't.